Hello there, people of the internet. I've made a couple of videos talking about this before, and it normally ends up with people going into the comments saying something along the lines of, if somebody's telling you to not have more power or more capabilities, then it's not somebody that you should listen to. And I understand that to an extent. But at the same time, you got to pick a right tool for whatever job it is that you're looking to do. And there's some situations where having a decrease in power is a significant increase in capability. Again, you got to pick the right tool for the job. Like, for example, a big one that people look at, they look at something like 308 or 7.62 NATO, which is your most popular battle rifle cartridge, I think in the world. I was going to say in the United States, but I think in the world. 7.62 NATO is just absolutely everywhere, and it's in a good number of different rifles. It's powerful, it's capable, but the accuracy of your average battle rifle is probably about 4 MOA, unless you have like some really special one-off to where you get tighter grips than that, but more often than not, you get about 4 MOA from your battle rifle, which is good enough for a battle rifle. But at that accuracy, like beyond say 400 to 600 yards, you're not gonna have reliable hits on target. Even if you're rocking that full power 7.62 NATO, it's just not gonna happen. And within the distances of the capabilities of the rifle, not necessarily the ammo, but the capability of the rifle, you would be able to send a lighter weight projectile, say 55 grain, 62 grain, 77 grain, whatever flavor of 5.56 it is you want. You'd be able to send this out to those distances and still get an effective enough hit on target to be able to put that target down, depending on your barrel length. I wouldn't exactly want to do that with like a 7-inch barrel if that is your cup of tea. But if you have yourself a good full-length rifle barrel, or maybe even a 16-inch thing, you shouldn't have much problem. But the benefits of that lighter ammunition is you can carry more of it on you. The battle rifle, unless you're rocking some kind of DMR or sniper rifle or something like that to where you can accurately and reliably touch out to longer distances that are farther away than what a 5.56 would normally be able to achieve, and you would have to have one heck of a rifle to be able to pull that off. The capabilities of the battle rifle are just not there in terms of comparing the capabilities of your 7.62 NATO in comparison to what is required for a cartridge to do, and then looking at the capabilities of your 5.56. If you don't want to rock the light 55 grain, then go with the 77 grain, and those have been shown repeatedly to be extraordinarily effective out to long distances. And to put into perspective that lack of accuracy, even if you have yourself a 1 MOA rifle, once you touch out to farther distances that are beyond the capabilities of 5.56, I've seen 5.56 taken out to 1,000 yards and still smack gel targets pretty gosh darn good. You can look it up on YouTube if that's what you want to do, because there's people who run these out at really long distances, and it still puts down that target. But even if you have a 1 MOA gun, you're still talking about a 10-inch group, and your cone of fire is going to be well beyond what a human torso is going to be at those distances, and that is completely excluding any and all human error in your shooting. So just the capabilities of the long-range, quote-unquote, long-range cartridge, the intermediate cartridges can absolutely pull that off too, especially if you pick a right type of bullet, and they're still going to impart enough damage to your target to be able to put it down. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, oh, what about body armor, body armor, body armor? If you have black tip 30-06, it's still not going to penetrate modern body armor. You're not punching through that stuff unless you manage to hit the same hole on repeat, which just ain't going to happen. So if you get smacked with a 7.62 NATO or a 5.56 round, you're still going to be out of the fight, because it's going to absolutely suck to get smacked with one of those. But neither of them are going to kill you. I don't care if you want to rock a 7.62 NATO for body armor purposes. You're not going through body armor, modern body armor, with a 7.62 NATO. Even if you load black tips into that thing, it's still not going to happen. As a matter of fact, you can look this up. M193 from a 20-inch barrel will actually punch through body armor better than like a M855 steel penetrator will. Look it up, that's a real thing. It's actually really incredible. So if you got yourself a 20-inch AR barrel, then you should be absolutely set if your goal is to punch through body armor. So all of the benefits and the capabilities of the rifles and whatnot, you get all of that with this intermediate cartridge to where you have lighter recoil, you have lighter ammunition, you have more ammunition inside of your magazine to where you can carry it around more. And I'm sure some people are going to go into the comments and say, oh, just work out more so you can carry more 7.62 NATO. I like the idea, but no matter what, if you can carry a bunch of 7.62 NATO, you can carry even more 5.56. And 5.56 is still going to have the capabilities necessary to be able to touch out to the distances and achieve the things that most people need to do. Like I said, if you have some kind of rare one-off job to where you're like not within the realm of the needs of like 98% of people, then by all means go with a full power cartridge. But that lighter weight cartridge has the capabilities to handle most of everything, and you can carry more of it. If you can carry 200 rounds of 7.62 NATO, you can carry 300 rounds of 5.56. Does that make sense? If you can carry 1,000 rounds of 7.62 NATO, you can carry, I don't know, 1,200 rounds of 5.56. No matter what number of 7.62 NATO you're carrying, 5.56 is lighter, so you can carry more of that. And the capabilities of the cartridge, it really cannot be argued. But it goes beyond just the normal mindset of this argument, like with your battle rifle or fighting rifle concept. If we start looking at simpler things, like, say, home defense with a shotgun, buckshot is probably going to be your best option. I would think that number 4 buckshot gives you the best power with the least penetration. But if you're in a crowded apartment complex or you're somewhere where over penetration might be a real legitimate issue, then maybe backing off your power for your shotgun shells might be a good way to go. Maybe going with a true full-on birdshot or maybe a turkey load or something like that, since the distances you'll be shooting at in an apartment complex are like, what, 15 feet? Which is well within the capabilities of turkey shot being able to put something down. But that lack of power, that lessening of power, means that you stand a much less chance of dealing with an over-penetration issue. If you load double-aught buck into your shotgun because it's got a bunch of horsepower behind it, and then you set that off inside of an apartment complex, even if you do hit your intruder, those those pellets are going to keep on going, and they're going to go right through whatever drywall's behind the guy, and it's going to cause some issues. So lowering your power and your capabilities in such a situation might be a good idea. Or even going beyond that. Actually, let's look at hunting rifles, because I get a lot of people who say, oh, you want as much power as possible inside of your hunting rifle. That's why I go with a 30-06 or a 300 Win Mag or a 7mm Remington Magnum or whatever it is that you decide to go with. If you start to look at the capabilities of some lighter weight, lighter recoiling cartridges, and you realize that for most people, those cartridges still produce well in excess the energy necessary to go within or to be able to take down the game that most people are going after, then it would make sense to go with these lighter weight, lighter recoiling cartridges. Like, for example, I go hunting with a lot of different milsurps, but one of my favorite milsurps to go hunting with is 6.5 Jap, specifically out of my Arisaka. And the ammunition is small and lightweight and fairly compact and whatnot, and I can fit more of it inside of my pocket in comparison to lugging around 30-06. If I'm lugging around 30-06, I'm normally going after something bigger. Then I'll normally rock 180, 200, maybe even 220 grain bullets, depending on what it is I'm going after. And that's a lot of weight, and that's a lot of recoil, and for someone like me, that's really not that big of a deal. But a lot of people that watch this content, maybe they are not avid shooters. Maybe they don't go out and, I don't know, mag dump on the gun range every weekend like I do. Maybe there's somebody who has their hunting rifle and they go out and they zero it once a year at the gun range just to make sure it's shooting close enough to where it is that they want to hit, and then they'll take it out and go take a deer with it at 100 yards, and that's their extent of shooting. If you give someone like that an overly powerful rifle, you're going to have a lot of recoil behind it. Like, if you give someone like that a 300 Winchester Magnum, and they're rocking a lightweight polymer modern bolt-action rifle, there's going to be a lot of recoil. You're going to develop a flinch unless you work your way out of that, and that's just something that you don't really see with lighter recoiling rifles from a lower power cartridge, which is still going to put down whatever it is that you're shooting at. Here in Florida, the deer don't get very big, so if you hit a deer in the right place with, say, a 243 using the right bullet at the right distances, etc., etc., you don't really have to worry about any of the issues that you normally would have to worry about if you were to use a bigger cartridge. The bigger cartridge, you have a lot of retort, you have less ammunition that you're carrying with you, you have a lot of recoil, you got to worry about not flinching under that recoil. A lot of times people, if they have a large recoiling round, like a 300 Winchester Magnum or something like that, then they will have a little bit heavier of a rifle in comparison to someone with a 243. I know I've got a 243 and it's probably about, rough estimations, 4.5 pounds. It's a really, really lightweight rifle. It's a polymer stocked rifle. But that 243 has very little recoil, very little retort. I have very little to worry about with that. But if I had that same weight of rifle in a larger caliber that recoiled more, then I might end up having some issues. It would not be pleasant to shoot at all. There are definitely some benefits for that lower recoiling cartridge inside of a hunting rifle. Not only that, but you destroy significantly less meat. Like, I remember one time I shot a deer center mass. It was facing me. I shot a deer center mass with a 308, and you know how you shoot a watermelon and all of the watermelon kinds of turn into mush? That's kind of what the deer's insides turned into. We got a lot of meat off of it, so it definitely wasn't a waste by any stretch of the imagination, but the 308 was a little bit too much for that particular deer, and that's one of those situations where that lower power definitely would have come in handy. And that's one of the reasons why I'm an advocate for the 243 or even the 223 if you're using the right bullets. So, big benefits for lower recoil or lower power, lighter weight ammunition, like just bigger, or there's big benefits for decreasing your power for whatever job it is that you're wanting to do. It doesn't even go with rifles. You can look at handguns specifically. This right here is a 357 Magnum, and it's great. 357 Magnum has a lot of power behind it, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm about to say. You can shove 38 Special into this thing and have a lower recoiling, lower retort, easier to handle cartridge that maybe you can use against smaller critters without completely disintegrating them. I know if you hit a squirrel with a 357 Magnum, the thing's gonna turn into like a red mist, but I've slapped them with 38 Special rounds before without much problem, and that's just an example of a lower power cartridge coming in handy. Just because I say just because I tell you guys lowering your power or lowering your capabilities with your cartridge or your rifle or anything like that could be beneficial, that's not me saying you shouldn't be using that much power. That's me telling you guys use the right tool for the right job, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys are going to agree with me on that. So thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check that out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett.
a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.